The world is going through changes. Changes happening at a speed that we have never seen before. This is leading to disruption, chaos, panic, fear, hysteria, and a turbulent economy and marketplace. How do you protect your wealth in a turbulent world? How do you invest for cash flow in alternative assets to escape the rat race in times of uncertainty? How do you decentralize yourself, your family, your community, your business, and your investments to become sovereign and escape the matrix? If you are looking for strategies, tactics, and techniques to escape the rat race and matrix, you are in the right place. My name is MC Lobsher, and this is Cashflow Ninja. This is Cashflow Ninja. I'm MC Lobsher. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. Podcasts, books, our reports, and more. And by the way, if there's one thing that I can help you with right now is get you to subscribe to the #1 weekly newsletter in alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset space, the Wealth Dojo. We've been publishing this now for several weeks. We've gotten great feedback. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo, which comes out every week, delivered to your inbox at cashflowninja.com/subscribe. I've got a fantastic show for you. I have a returning guest, Josh McCallen with Accountable Equity. Josh has been on the show before. You could go to cashflowninja.com and just type in Josh McCallen or Accountable Equity and listen to all of the many episodes we've done talking about how to invest in historic resort properties, opportunity zones, and hospitality projects, and much, much more. Josh, welcome back onto the show. Great to see you.
Woo. Wow. What an honor to be on this show. Thank you so much, MC.
For our listeners and viewers that's not familiar with you, can you please share a little bit about your background and journey with them?
Sure. So in a nutshell, Josh McCallen, I'm the proud husband of Melanie McCallen, who happens to be a business partner in all the work we're doing of both me and MC in business, and honored to be the father of 10 children. Yes, double digits, a very rare, grateful occasion. All of that is just, a kind of a personal note. Our expertise, and people get to know us through the world of wineries. We buy winery projects with partners, and we overlay some dynamic hospitality revenue engines, and we make a great community come together around the table, breaking bread, and, kind of community-based learning and sharing is at the heart of everything we're doing. That's why wine is so central in many things we're doing. As you and I say, it's biblical, for goodness sake. But wine and also other resort amenities are the core of what we do in our hospitality businesses.
So the core of the business, and you, again, I would highly recommend that we did an episode together sharing historic resorts and that specific niche within hospitality. That continues to just blow my mind, and a lot of people that are investing in that space. So you have the historic resort kind of model, but the title that I have for our conversation today is how to buy and invest in wineries. And because a lot of these historic resorts happens to be wineries. So one of the first big projects we did was the Renault Winery, the third oldest winery in the United States. You've got, grandfathered in American champagne at that property. It's so old.
That's
right.
So
it happened to be a winery, and there's been several other projects which happen to be wineries. So this is fascinating. So Josh, can you share more about that, the attraction of wineries, where this fits into the historic resort space?
Sure.
And why it's so attractive?
Yeah, and it does predate. So our attraction to this space and the why we have, at this point, MC, you and I are part of 426 families have joined forces together to buy these wineries with you and I and others. So winery is part of, at the core of what we've done, and we'll have 3 winery resorts this year out of a total of 5 total resorts before the end of the summer, with the most iconic one being Renault Winery, which is in New Jersey. And you mentioned it's the third oldest. It's actually the second oldest winery by a few days or a few months.
Oh, wow.
Technically, we call it the most historic American winery because of all the crazy things that happened here. And I do want to share that story. But to answer your question, how to go about buying a winery, for us, it was a couple different lenses, right? You have to look through the lens of a real estate investor because these are large pieces of real estate. And then we're really operating business aficionados, if you want to make light of it. That's our passion. Our passion is providing work with purpose for our hundreds of teammates at each property. And for Melanie and I, and for all those who came and put the sweat equity in and the money equity, we felt we wanted to have a purpose in our life. And like you and I joked, it's biblical, but wine being at the heart of the assets is almost divinely inspired because it is mentioned in the scriptures, right? It is since the beginning of civilization. For some reason, we've learned how to, break bread and have fermented grapes. But for us, it's also the tip of the spear of the entire marketing strategy at these properties, because within a winery, it just happens to be in the last 20 so years, it's the number one trending desirable location for a wedding. It also is a growing desirable location for corporate retreats and offsites, which we're really growing, and that's exploding for us now. And then the ones we went after always had multiple other revenue streams. They had the hospitality, which begins with, in our case, food and beverage. It also has the, some of our properties have beautiful golf resorts as well as wineries. Others have waterfront properties. So I call it the primordial desires of mankind and womankind, right? So we like to aggregate as many of these things that are timeless. That's part of our lens. We say the first lens is it desirable real estate, and are we buying it at a good basis? The wine being part of that desirable real estate. The second, is this going to stand the test of time? And we can go deeper and deeper on that, but part of our thesis on the way we do hospitality and where wineries fit in is we believe people today really want something similar to the olden days, experience. They want to have places where they go where they feel loved. So we teach a type of hospitality that engenders or encourages our staff to actually, we call it love on people, like the Southerners say. And you put all that together, you design many revenue streams, and now you get to this operating business that's a juggernaut. And we have a few case studies you and I have done in earlier podcasts where we talk about how we got through the COVID pretty robustly, thank God, because we pivoted into an outdoor experience resort during the time when you weren't allowed to be inside. And we kind of did that quickly and harsh, fast, and with aggressiveness. So we kind of came out, we got in the Wall Street Journal in our first real full operating year because the COVID was a damper on all of life and destroyed so many good things in society. But in our case, we pivoted right into the opportunity of outdoor experience based on primordial values. And boy, did it work. And ever since then, we've been on a trajectory of growth. And I know you've been able to enjoy it like I have. I mean, there's nothing like having a glass of wine at your own invested winery. And I think that's why so many people join us.
Yeah, I think if you have to look at different asset classes, there's very few asset classes that you can say, I'm enjoying a delicious glass of wine on a property alongside all the other investors, which are all invested in the property. If you think about the types of other asset classes, it isn't really something that you could that you could say the same about, right? So that is definitely one aspect. What I love about the winery aspect to it too, like you said, is it attracts people. It's got a certain mystique. It's got an experience, and that's just the winery part. That's the grapes and the winemaking and having some wine tasting and some bottles to sell on the property. But that is a very, very small part of it.
It is.
Where if you then add to it the wedding venue and the corporate event venue, and then tie that into hotels, right? Rooms on the property for people to stay at, golf courses, restaurants, spas, little markets, right?
Oh yeah.
Little pop-up stores and
Yeah.
markets. And I mean, we could go on and on, all the different things that you can do to this, and you could get creative too. To your point, during 2020, 2021, when a lot of the operating businesses had so many restrictions on it, you could take things outside and have this outside experience and pop up kind of outside village. So you could get very, very creative with it. And that's really maintained and gotten bigger and bigger every year.
It has.
The one property, for example, Renault, there's an ice skating ring during the Winter Wonderland experience during the holidays, with many, many more things. So I love it that it's one piece of it, and it's part of a very, very, very comprehensive business plan with many other facets tied to it. This operating machine of a business on top of real estate, right?
Yep, you said it perfectly, buddy. And listen, it all starts with the fact that it's a gift. We're stewards of a beautiful property. We're stewards of other people's capital. And we kind of embrace that. These are tough things to run. At any one time, we might have 400 people on payroll here at our busiest times. So that's a lot of hearts and souls we're responsible for that work with us. Very few are full-time, of course, maybe less than 100. But and then, of course, the investors. We have so many good investors. So all those things come together, and they kind of give us a motivation and a real sense of urgency and priority. But you know what? I'd love to share with you two little things that are exciting about this, what's going on in our universe today. So over the last few years, we've been methodic about starting with the core business and building incremental new revenue streams within that. Like you said, wine is a good sized part of our business. But today, even at several $1 million worth of wine sales a year, that'll only be a small 10% of our revenue. The rest will come from catering, then a really robust golf program, and a really great hotel program. And of course, on top of that, a gigantic restaurant operation that attracts people from 3 states. But the most exciting thing going on today is a spa. And that is kind of the full wellness life cycle of what we've been trying to build here. And I know you know this from the beginning, where we had you and your wife here. And the first question I always get is, when's the spa going into the hotel? Well, we partnered with the same people that run Richard Branson's, which is so cool. The Virgin Group, they have a spa partner called Exhale. We hired them. We partnered with them. And so we're in the middle of a very large, thematic, over-the-top wellness spa. And it's actually under construction. So that's an exciting part. And that's why new investors are joining Renault right now. But more important than that, even, is this commitment to continue to grow that corporate business. And I want to tell you a nice win you and I had recently. We all had recently. You've heard of the mastermind GoBundance? So GoBundance, a lot of business owners all over the country, several of them do large-scale masterminds themselves, conferences, big podcasters. Well, they are doing their regional summits now at Renault. And to me, this is like the holy grail, right? When you have investors then start to use their property, which then brings new notoriety to the property that brings them profit margin at the bottom. And it's this like virtuous life cycle or a flywheel. And so that'll be in the fall if you've ever heard of GoBundance. And we're seeing more and more of that kind of corporate stuff. And I imagine, I think someday we'll talk the Cashflow Ninja into having stuff here. But in the meantime, we're excited about that portion of the growth right now.
How do you achieve clarity, certainty, and predictability in a world, economy, and markets that are volatile and chaotic? How do you have confidence in an environment where change and disruption is constant? Setting up infinite banking is how you establish certainty in an uncertain world, predictability in an unpredictable world. With an infinite banking policy, you have your capital warehoused outside of the Wall Street casino, where it is guaranteed never to go down in value and guaranteed to grow tax-free. You have guaranteed access to your capital, and you also will be able to access your capital tax-free to use to capitalize on opportunities as you come across them. Creating your own banking system with infinite banking can be your secret weapon to protect and grow wealth during turbulent times. You can watch a presentation and explore infinite banking options for you and your family at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com. Josh, you and Melanie actually wrote a report a couple of years ago, the 10 steps of how to invest in a historic resort property or how to buy and invest in a winery, where you share several things that people should do when they're looking to get into this space. Do you mind sharing those?
It would be an honor. It would be an honor. So this is a little tease of what we've been working on over the years and the wisdom that has been revealed to us. So, the number one thing we say you want to look for, this is actually more of a side note, but one of the reasons people want to buy these types of projects, direct or passively, is because resorts, and especially winery resorts in particular, have tremendous tax strategy advantages. So one is you're probably getting into this space, and one of your considerations might be tax strategy. Tremendous amount of money to be depreciated in year one, and then in general, great cash protection on profits going forward. Number two thing I look for when we look for a property, though, is we only want to buy diamonds. And so for us, we're not just, there's got to be a reason. I think because you're buying something that you want to be a steward of for the rest of your life. That's the way we look at it. So we're looking for diamonds, or you can picture the acres of diamonds. We want to uncover, hopefully, diamonds in the rough is what we're looking for. The third thing we look for is what demand drivers are going to be compelling for the extra revenue streams that are needed beyond just the glass of wine. And so we're going to zoom in on that. We're going to talk about drivable leisure. What's going on in the metropolitan area? Is it close enough to a major economic center that'll have destination travel for the day or overnight retreats? So the second is demand. Now, we have another rule that we go by. We call it our fourth rule. And that is we try to shoot for what is called a 4-star hospitality experience. And this is confusing if you're not in the hospitality space, but 2-star is like the Holiday Inn Express, very comfortable and clean, not any extra amenities. 3-star is when you get to a restaurant added to the property, like a hotel with a restaurant. 4-star is when you have aspirational amenities, meaning amenities that maybe even have luxury to them, and those amenities might actually be so valuable that you might want to use the property as your vacation. So 4-star is where it gets really sweet. Now, there's something called 5-star and even 6-star. And the number one 5-star that you might know is Four Seasons Resorts or Ritz-Carlton. And what's amazing about the 5-star status, and this is why we currently do not plan to change from 4-star to 5-star in the future, and we're not looking for 5-star assets at this time, is they're not very profitable. When you meet developers that do those fantastic resorts, you find out that they're buying them for a secondary reason instead of just strong cash flow. They're usually looking to create lift in the regional economic value around them, whether they're going to build houses around them or they're going to have office complexes near them. And a 5-star property has the ability to lift the economic market. But in itself is not usually, and the reason is because you're paying for a lot more staff count per guest, and you have a smaller guest pool, right? A 4-star guest pool is pretty much everyone who's considered middle class can afford a 4-star resort. Whereas, honestly, we've always tried to earn a good living, and I would have a hard time choosing to stay at a 5-star just because you start to see those $1,000 to $2,000 nightly rents, plus very expensive meals, plus. And you start to question, am I getting enough value out of that 24 hours to spend $1,000? So that's a sweet spot that has helped us a lot. The fifth secret, and this is a surprise to some people, we look for the property with delayed maintenance. So we're the opposite of a stabilized a real estate buyer. Stabilized real estate buyer, usually they're really good at tight operations, which is awesome. They have no desire to change the value by much. They're going to do some kind of behind the scenes metric to change the value. Whereas we like to buy them with tremendous delayed maintenance, because if they have delayed maintenance, you're going to pay a price that is very modest. And whatever money you would have had to pay if it was in good condition, you get to spend on the investment. So yeah, we're big believers of delayed maintenance, I'll tell you what. And then we always design with a sizzle factor in mind. You know, I think the good news about us is we realize that it's an Instagram world. And so you'll find stories within our stories, and we look for those parts when we go to do the redevelopment plan. And we call it design with the wow in mind, and then come back and value engineer the wow instead of the other way around, you know. So we're always in this tension of finding nooks, crannies, and sizzle features, and then trying to figure out a way to not spend top dollar on all those. We also love the seventh thing we go over in this book is we love adding revenue streams. And I will say, for the other times you and I've talked over the years on the show, that's one of the things you always noticed about us and appreciated, is that we never rely on one revenue stream. I remember during the COVID, you talked a lot about everybody's business needed to find a digital footprint and needed to sell revenue opportunities different ways. And you were ahead of the game on that. And we see the same kind of thing in our beautiful resorts. You know, we have this other, we call it the eighth principle, is we're always exploring what would be the highest and best use if we bought the property now. You know, at any stage you're at, even though we've grown this by 10x, about 1,000% growth since we bought it, we're still saying, let's assume we're buying it today. What is the highest and best use? The next three value adds we could do to this property. So there's a study we do each year called the highest and best use. Number 9 is where the truth is, and that is, if you're going to get into this type of investing, realize the operating business is called hospitality. You know, it may be a winery, it may be a beautiful golf resort, it may be a waterfront property, but the core business is actually hospitality. And if I could pause there for 1 second, this is what drives us. You know, hospitality is, I call it man and womankind's first ministry, first spiritual work of good for someone else is hospitality. I call it primordial. It's when you take simple work of cleaning and or cooking and or greeting, and if you just in your mind switch it to a gift, meaning an act of love, then it becomes spiritual. And I think that's the danger of hospitality. If someone does the work of hospitality but hates people, which, by the way, we've all been to restaurants and places where the server looks like they would want to kill us if we weren't paying them. That's because they're really not built for hospitality, and they don't recognize how dangerous it is to treat people like a commodity. You feel it. Our guests feel it. So we always work on our team, and we ask them to join us in this primordial ministry of acts of love. And then the last step of how to buy a resort or winery resort is unless you're independently wealthy, you're going to have to create a value back to whoever partners with you. And this has been our life's kind of like question. We've been trying to, since the day we met all the investors that joined us and started this process, we kept saying, how can we add value to investors? How can we add? And that's what came up with the name of our company. For us, it became a mission, accountable equity. For others, it could just be a joint venture or a partnership. But for us, it became a community.
And that kind of ties in and segments nicely into what I also wanted to talk to you about. You had mentioned investing as a community and together as a community. Now, if you're listening to this and you're interested to do this yourself and be an active investor, that's one route to go, right? You can do it that way. Now, just be cognizant of what you're signing up for. As an active investor, you're going to be the operator. There's of course, then another way to do it where you're doing it more passively, which is what I've shared in all of my books throughout. I decided to go because I get to partner as part of a community with other investors, with great operators, and then invest passively into amazing projects such as the wineries we just discussed. Now, the community investing principle and concept is something that you've really, really taken to another level with just incredible events that you're hosting at these properties, and also the amazing community that you've built around this concept. It is something that is very, very noticeable when you go to these events which you're having quarterly at all these properties, that people have become amazing friends, and they are now co-investing in more than one project together and continue to do it. It is really, really great to see it. So what does that mean to you, this community investing?
Well, it's also, oh my gosh, I can't tell you what it feels like, MC. It's like being a parent, and I imagine most of our listeners today are either a parent or maybe good friends or cousins or whatever. When you become a parent, there's this tremendous new, some would call pressure, right, and burden, if you want to think of it that way. But then when you become a parent, it doesn't feel as heavy. It actually feels like your life's work. And you start to realize the tremendous gift you were given of children. So something similar happens when you become the sponsor of a project, especially a project that's a portfolio effort, right? We're not flippers. And we talk about that. There are such strategies as flipping things. And maybe you make extra money real quick and then you have to do it all again. We're actually going to continue to do it, about a property a year, if not faster, soon. So we're always going to be in the process of doing it. The value search, the value design, the value into our people. That's what we were born to do. But the community, we wanted to be valuable to our own community, even while they were investing, not just after they get the big checks. So we created, it kind of metamorphosized in our hearts over the first year. And you were part of this, watching us do this. At first, we're like, well, let's just have people visit. Then we said, let's get to know them as people. Then we said, wait a second, what if this becomes a investor community, like a mastermind, but we don't charge for it? And as a matter of fact, we don't charge for it. Active partners just become part of this community of hundreds and hundreds of accredited investors. And then we break bread together multiple times a year. And we call that event Learn and Grow. And I'm so honored you let me share this on your show, because I know you haven't been able to get to one this year. And I know Producers Wealth is one of the biggest sponsors this year, and we're so honored to have them. But I can't wait till you see it, MC. It's grown so much over the recent year. Well, it's now, first of all, very fun, always the best food, always at one of the resorts you own as investors, whoever you are. But now it's got dynamic experiences where you actually start to taste, touch, and do the activities of the resort within your learning experiences. Like whether it's a golf resort, we're going to have a golf training / fun exercise competition. Then, since we're getting a spa, we're going to have spa treatments, and we're going to meet the spa people who operate the spa that's being built today. And this one coming up, they're all important to us. They all are a big investment for us. And it's an investment because we know people are going to fly in from the West Coast as investors, drive in from New York, whatever. We get it. They're spending their most valuable resource with us, their time. My one friend from South Africa taught me that's the people's most important resource, most valuable. So we take it so seriously, and they're over the top fun. Now, this one in August 24th, it's a Saturday, one-day event. You don't have to spend the night, but if you want to, there's a VIP event on the 23rd at Renault Winery, the place you and I just talked about, the case study that you can touch, feel, and look and talk to the staff. And the guest this year, we've had the Cashflow Ninja there in the past. I can't wait till he comes back. But this year, we have Directed IRA CEO, famous podcaster, famous author of the #1 best-selling book on directing your own IRA, Matt Sorensen. He's famous. Everybody loves him. He's hilarious. He could be a stand-up comedian. but man, he's going to share 2 to 3 ideas that are going to change your wealth trajectory. And it's just free good content if you're an investor, right? Then we're going to have, I don't know if you've met Mike Pine yet, right? He's the newest up and coming tax strategist that takes the Tom Wheelwright philosophy of buying investments that are specifically going to offset your taxes and doing it intentionally year after year. He's the best at the business right now. You know how different people pop up and down. And years ago, he joined Accountable Equity and started helping us design our funds and has become a trusted partner over the years. So he's flying in from the West Coast. So we got all these West Coasters coming in to New Jersey. It's honestly going to be unbelievable. And MC, you know, if you weren't in Africa that week, you would be there. I know you would.
Yep.
So we would love for more people to check us out at Accountable Equity.
Yeah, fantastic. And this is in August, Josh. What's the date of that event?
Saturday, August 24th. You can make it a solid one-day trip, or you could come the night before and get a VIP night. And we'll have a private dinner that night as well if you choose to come. So that's optional. And we'll meet and eat and break bread with the speakers and all the people traveling in.
And I also wanted to share that this is quarterly. There's one every quarter. So if you're listening to this and you go, I'd really like to come out and see this and experience this and learn more about this, and there's been many people coming out through the years that we've done this, there will be another one in the final quarter of the year, which I will also be at. So
December.
But yeah, in December. This one. So there's one in August. Go to accountableequity.com and you can find out the details there and register for it there and sign up for that event. And then there's also, if you cannot make that one, there's also another one in December. And there'll be more the following year. So this is something that's done every single quarter. I just wanted to share that with folks as well. I've found it extremely valuable. There's a lot of stuff that you learn. I always pick up something. But this event too, there's a lot of just fabulous investors, people that one ideal person can change your life. So, and they're at these events. They're at these events that you guys are putting on. So, Josh, this is fantastic. So, the website that they can go to is accountableequity.com. You've already shared that. Any final takeaways and thoughts for all of our listeners and viewers?
No, it's an honor to be on this big show, and thank you. I always have such great feedback, and please reach out to us anytime you want. My email, if you want to reach me directly, is just my first initial last name at accountableequity.com, J. McCallen at accountableequity.com, and reach out to me personally or just hit us up on the website. It's an honor to serve.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again for coming on the show and always providing so much value, sharing your insights and your knowledge. Appreciate you. Always have fun with you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
And thank you to the listener and the viewer for, again, spending your most valuable resource, your time, with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. Podcasts, books, reports, and more. And again, if there's one thing that I could do to help you right now, is to get you to sign up for my weekly newsletter, The Wealth Dojo. It's the best newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investment space. You could go to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. Until next time, live infinitely. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.